I'll try that.
So when I went to church yesterday, the first thing I said was, um, thank God what could have happened didn't happen. So, we did, I think it's just reviewing this game, a little bit of a reality check. One of the things that we wanted to do in the game was channel our passion and our energy into positive execution on the field. And I think when we did that, we played really, really well. But there were some times where we didn't, and it was very costly in terms of some of the errors that we made, whether they were penalties or mistakes on defense or whatever it might be. So the reality check part comes from taking the good things and building on them and getting some of these other things corrected. Having the opportunity to play in the SEC championship game is, I'm very, very proud of this team for the progress that they've made, the work that they've done. To give themselves an opportunity to play in the SEC championship game. This is one of the most competitive, best venues, in college football. And we're obviously playing, one of the best teams in college football, if not the best team in college football. Kirby's done a fantastic job there. I mean, I don't think people realize, how hard it is to win 29 games in a row or even be 12-0 in a season. So, they got really good players. They're really well coached. They're one of the most prolific offensive teams in the country in terms of yards, points, ability to run, ability to pass. They've got good players at every position. Defensively, they're the number one team in the SEC. Got good players, well coached, do a really, really good job. And they also do a great job on special teams. So they've got good specialists, and this is a team that doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. That's why they are who they are and what they are. And it's going to be really important for us to do, a great job of executing and do what we do the best that we can do it.
That'll start with Kelly.
Yeah, 2 years ago, similar circumstance, emotional win over Auburn. Then you're playing the SEC championship game against Georgia. What do you think these guys can learn from the way that team prepared and handled their business in between the Iron Bowl and the SEC championship?
I don't really know. I think this is about this team, how they prepare for this game. Not very many guys on this team was on that team. Some of the guys were on that team, understood what championship preparation is really all about. And I think their leadership and our message is going to be that's exactly what we need in this game. But it's hard to draw comparisons from people who didn't have that experience, sometimes. So, hopefully some of the older guys on the team will be able to give us the leadership that we need to be able to get that message across.
Charlie.
Yeah, Coach, when you look back at Jermaine Burton, what maybe stood out about him when he entered the transfer portal, and maybe how has he grown and matured since then?
Yeah, well, Jermaine has done a really good job for us, and, we continue to harp on, consistency and performance, all the time. He's been very productive for us, and, we played against him, and, we thought he was a good player when we played against him. So that was probably, the reason for our interest in him to start with. And, he hasn't disappointed us with his performance on the field. And, we continue to work on his ability to stay focused on, do your job well, create value every play in terms of what you do, and be consistent in your performance. And he's certainly made strides in that direction.
Caden Proctor got named co-SEC Freshman of the Week. How have you seen him most improve this season?
Yeah, well, he's, we talked about him, on several occasions about developing confidence, I think, in what he's supposed to do, how he's supposed to do it, why it's important to do it that way. The improved communication in the offensive line, I think, has contributed to that development of confidence. And I think that's the one word that, when you have success, which he has had more success in recent games, that really helps build confidence and an expectation that you can do things at a high level. And that's how you prepare, and that's how you go play.
Let's go, Kate.
What are the challenges of preparing for a guy like Brock Bowers? And then do you just kind of, Kirby said yesterday, status is kind of day to day. Do you just prepare as if he's going to play?
I'm sorry.
Brock Bowers for Georgia.
Yeah. Well, Georgia's got a really, really good offensive team. And the quarterback obviously does a fantastic job of whether they're running the ball, carrying out fakes, play action passes, drop back passes. I mean, he is very efficient and effective in everything that he does. He's very accurate with the ball. He's smart, throws at the right place. So he does a great job of implementation of exactly what they want to do. And they have a really, really good scheme. And obviously, Brock Bowers is a really, really good player, probably the best player at his position in the country. And, I'm assuming that he will play in the game. I don't know any different than that. And he's a mismatch issue, but he's also a good blocker and a really good competitor. So it's not only his pass catching ability, it's his ability to do all the things that really good football players do. And he does them at a high level.
Coach, everyone knows about the Iron Bowl rivalry, but this Georgia-Alabama rivalry is turning into something every year bigger and bigger. How healthy is that for the game of football? And obviously the Kirby and your connection adds to that as well.
Well, I think that, all these sort of, you call them rivalry games, some of them are instilled in the culture, like the Auburn game, the Iron Bowl. That's part of the culture. People have been watching that game for how many years? And it's always going to be that. And then, some of these other sort of rivalry games, as you call them, aren't traditional rivalries, but because there's two really good teams playing, and it's been historically that way for a while, they become those kind of games. And, that's kind of what this has become. So, you don't get an opportunity to play against the team who's won, 29 straight games very often, which speaks to their quality. But it also speaks to the challenge and the opportunity that, our team has in preparing for a team like this.
A question about Georgia's passing game. So Ladd McConkey, of course, missed September with a back injury. Took him a couple of weeks after that, I think, before he was in peak form. And that's right when they lost Bowers to the ankle injury. So they've only had those guys healthy together for like 2-3 games. How much more dynamic is Georgia with both of those guys healthy?
Well, both those guys are really good players. So obviously they're very dynamic. But I will say this, that the players who have played for those guys, and this speaks to the depth of, Georgia's team, Four is a really good tight end and has done a really, really good job. 86.5, the other receivers that have played, they've always done, they've done a really good job, and they're really, really good players. So those two guys are fantastic players in their own right, and they're very productive. But the players who have stepped up and taken their place have done a really, really good job as well.
You mentioned Caden earlier, but the whole offensive line's kind of improved. No pre-snap penalties over there. 1 sack allowed. How good of a job has Eric Wolford done, kind of turning around that unit?
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job, and I think the players have responded well to him. And our technique has gotten better. Our communication has gotten better. The continuity of playing together has gotten better, and I think the results that we're getting is, showing that. But I also think this is probably the best front they're going to go against all year to this point. So it'll be interesting to see, how that matchup sort of transpires.
Finish up at 2 in the back.
Hey, Nick, Jalen Milroe told us post-game that he thought his emotion sometimes got the better of him, but at times it feels like that emotion fuels his play. How difficult is it sometimes to walk that tightrope of playing with emotion, but making sure as the quarterback that you're dialed in and making the proper decisions?
Well, I just think that for any player, probably most importantly at quarterback, because you have the ball every down to do something with, whether it's to hand it to somebody, throw it to somebody, run it yourself, whatever. It is what I mentioned earlier about having passion to play and not getting overly emotional where you don't make good decisions and choices, whether it's because you put pressure on yourself or you're trying to make plays or whatever. Everybody wants to make plays, but everybody's got to trust and believe in, if I do exactly what I'm supposed to do on this play, that's going to give the best opportunity for this play to be successful and for us to make plays within the system and the scheme. And for the most part, we've been doing a great job of that. So, but it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, and that's not just the quarterback, but we sort of, when we got a little emotional in the game, whether it led to penalties or poor choices and decisions in some cases, that's not really putting your passion into what you have to do on the field to execute. And I think sometimes when you get outcome oriented, which, sometimes when we want to win a game really, really bad, you get outcome oriented. That sort of leads to those kind of emotional sort of surges that can create some issues as a competitor.
Finish up right now.
What has impressed you the most about Jalen Milroe's growth this season?
Well, obviously Jalen has played really, really well for us. He's got a lot of confidence. I think he's got a really good understanding of what his role, what his job is, how he's been able to execute it on a consistent basis, whether it's as a passer or as a runner, whether it's scrambling or design run. He's done a really, really good job, I think, of playing one play at a time and trying to execute that play the way it's designed so that he distributes the ball in a very efficient, effective manner. And I think that's how his growth, has sort of occurred and, transformed him as a player and really transformed our offense as well because of his growth and execution.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you.